Hey, it's time for a Action Figure Adventures video here on SEO Tour Review. Today, Baby Skeletor and I are taking a look at two Masters of the Universe figures from the Club Grayskull collection by Super7. We've got Filmation Roboto and Filmation Stratos. And here's the back of Roboto and Stratos' packages. Pause it here for Roboto's bio. And here for Stratos' bio. Here's Roboto and Stratos out of the package. These guys are fun interpretations of the characters from the comics. I think I'm going to start with Stratos and save Roboto for last. Considering the fact that the vintage Stratos came with no accessories beyond his armor and wings, this guy's loaded for bear. Filmation Stratos has a very ape-like muzzle to his face with the little gray beard underneath. He's got a very simplified helmet with goggles and everything there. It looks pretty good. His head can articulate from side to side. There is a little bit of forward and backwards motion, but not much. The way this helmet is sculpted, it really kind of rides along that neck and doesn't allow for a lot of movement there. His torso has his harness sculpted on. This is not a removable piece. On the back of his chest, he has a plug here for attaching his jetpack. He does come with two of them. This one has a little bit more detail to it around the top, while the second one is a little bit more plain. On his chest, he has an ab crunch. I'm not real wild about the sculpting here. It looks really sunken in. It's a shame. The sculpt is just really broken up by that articulation point. I mean, it's nice that he has the articulation, but in general, his chest just looks a little bit funky there. His arms can rotate and move out to the sides at the shoulders. He has a bicep swivel. It's very loose on my figure. Not quite as bad on this arm. This arm is very loose though. He has elbow joints. He has wrist articulation. And his wings are actually able to swivel around his wrist also on this little bracer piece. And he has swivels in his wrists there. So he really has some nice articulation in his arms. His wings are mostly always kind of flat against his arms, but that kind of recreates the look of the vintage accessory. There is a little bit of flexibility with these since they're not locked down. You know, the second strap is kind of just for show, which does allow you to pose him without being hindered by this. Below the waist, he's got a belt with no real details because he's the Filmation style and a simplified furry underpants. He has standard hip joints there that have a great range of motion. He's got knee joints, a boot cut, which looks nice. It doesn't really rotate real far. I guess it actually goes pretty far. It just gets a little tight in certain positions because the boot kind of rubs a little bit. And then down below at the ankles, he has pivot and rocker articulation. Actually, a really great range of motion down there at the ankles. So I like the posability. I like this style of Stratos. My only real kind of complaint is the way the abs look. For accessories, Stratos comes with two versions of his jetpack. Comes with a red sword. This is a pretty standard Filmation sword. Tila used a sword like this a lot in the show. But this one's sculpted in red, which looks really nice for the Hawkmen characters. And then, of course, he comes with the Staff of Avion. This is an episode-specific accessory. Stratos is the king of Avion, the people from there, and so this accessory's kind of been important. We've seen this before in the MOTU Classics line, but now we have a more actual Filmation design to it and coloring than the previous release. Up, up, and away! Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Next up, we've got Roboto here. I'm actually really excited to get this guy because Roboto is one of the few Masters Universe Classics figures I don't own. I got into Masters Universe Classics during the third year, I believe. I was picking up older figures when they went on sale, when they would like re-release characters, and I was grabbing that third year subscription, the one that had Shadow Weaver as a character. Roboto, everyone was complaining his clear torso was cracking and people were having all these problems with him. So I just stayed clear of that figure. I never picked him up. And it kind of always made me sad because he was a cool figure. So it was nice to finally get a version of him, even though it doesn't look as much like the toy. It's a fun version. It looks like the cartoon. His helmet is very simple and plain. It kind of looks like a knight. It does not have an articulated jaw, which is a little disappointing. You will notice that his neck is very different from a standard MOTU Classics guy. He has a very big neck here to make him look like the Filmation style. But his head is able to turn side to side. It's kind of stiff going around, and it does move forward and backwards. He does have a clear chest, which allows you to see some of his articulation joints inside there. Like you can see the shoulder joints in there. And he's got some cool gears in there. They do not move. They're not like a clockwork thing like the vintage toy or anything like that. But they do look cool inside there. His arms are pretty much standard Masters of the Universe Classics arms. They can move out to the side and spin around. I'm trying not to put a lot of pressure on it just because people did have problems with the clear chests in the past. Hopefully we won't have any issues like that. He's got elbow joints. The articulation is slightly hidden by this sculpted piece, which looks kind of neat. He has a swivel at the wrist as well as an articulation point there for a bend. On the other side, he just has a swivel there because this is the interchangeable hand. He has this great pincher hand, which is very much based on the cartoon versus the toy. And he comes with both of the other hands. He has his axe. And my personal favorite, the blaster. I would suggest being careful. I already feel like there's some major stress marks going on with the peg on mine. Unless that is a little bit of like gray plastic dust from the hole that's discoloring that. I can't tell for sure. I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but the peg, it's real loose on the hook hand, but it was really tight on the gun hand. So, not sure about that. He has a swivel at the waist. He's got the robot underpants, but more simplified. This is the Roboto, and I think Manny Faces has a similar style waist piece here, but it's simplified. Again, those robotic legs that many characters share that have the thigh pads, again simplified. He has great range of motion here. The rubber underpants do get in the way a little bit of moving forward. Out to the side works great. He's got a knee joint. Ooh, very stiff joints, which is nice. Most of his articulation is hidden pretty nicely by the high knee covers of his boots. Down below at the ankles, there is no boot cut in here, but he does have nice swivels and pivots. It is interesting that with the pins, they're actually more exposed than normal, but that works really well for the robotic character. I am really glad that Super7 was able to flesh out a lot of the supporting characters from the Filmation cartoon. There's a few others that I would love, like Ram Man, but he probably would have been 100% new tooling, because I don't even really think they could have reused any parts from the previous release Ram Man to make a Filmation style one. So I really do get why we haven't seen him in this line, but I do think it's a lot of fun. Thanks for watching this Action Figure Adventures video. Do Baby Skeletor a favor, hit that like and subscribe button.